I'd like to say some things today with some lightness and humor and anguish and torment. And I'm quite serious about this. Playful style of satsang that I'd like to offer you today. I want to talk about the beauty of frustration. I've been noticing a lot of frustration in people recently. And the one thing that nearly everyone can agree about is that the experience of feeling frustration leads almost everyone to the same disposition. You want it to stop. Anybody disagree with that? The difficulty comes when there's a valuing of some target objective or some hope to avoid something that your frustrated efforts are trying to achieve. So when you are pained with frustration, something's telling you this is not good. And usually, particularly if it's a very sticky frustration, there's an opposing force of, but I wanted to have the effect that I wanted to have. I had a goal and I don't want to let it go. What this culture teaches is you hold on to that goal. That goal is what keeps you alive. The hope of reaching your goal is what makes life rich and beautiful. You persevere, work through the frustration, and you get to where you thought you were going. And satsang offers a different perspective on this. Satsang invites you to quit. Is that such an awful word, quit? Because what is often the case is that a mind, an identity, has latched onto a notion of achieving some goal in a belief that that will give security, peace, happiness, fulfillment, or at least it will be an important stepping stone in the stairway of reaching that quality of life. And usually, this crucial stepping stone, this goal that seems to have great importance, is not examined very carefully. In fact, if the frustration is very potent, if it's a frustration that really has some teeth to it, and claws, and gouges you deeply, probably the goal you are grappling to reach has taken on an exaggerated importance. So, one of the beauties of frustration is that it invites you to pause. Invites you to look and see, what is this really that I'm trying to achieve? Have I really looked to see whether it's important to me, whether it will give me what I seek? And the benefits are, if you really pause, the frustration stops immediately. It may be replaced with anxiety that you're not going to get to your goal, or that something's going to slip away from you. But the frustration stops. And part of the beauty of this is that a pause can turn into a stop. And a stop can be a small, minuscule little stop, or it can be a vast and far-reaching stop. Anyone who's been to Satsang before, I don't have to elaborate on the significance of stopping in the invitation of satsang. Another more mechanical beauty of frustration is that, as everyone knows, you may be going about it all wrong. And sometimes frustration will force you to take several steps back, to cease the momentum of your striving. Take several steps back. You might see things in a fresh way. Creates an opportunity. And now I'll mention what I regard as the deepest blessing of frustration, if one is willing to hear this. Frustration is only possible if one is believing the mind. Because after all, it's thoughts that come up with a picture of who you are and what you need, what you ought to get, what will make you happy. If you follow those thoughts and embrace them as your beliefs, as your identity, then you're an identity. You're a restless mind, believing itself to be a whole host of characteristics and needs and desires. And frustration is telling you something. It's telling you something sacred. It's telling you thoughts will always fail. Yeah, it's whistling to you. It's calling from the far reaches. Listen. I am frustration. I am telling you, you are confused. You are drunk. You are disoriented. You are going to hurt yourself. You don't know what you're doing. And frustration is telling you that because the truth is, the ultimate truth is, identity and mind will always fail. Not in some discrete vignette of life challenge, life struggle. Certainly there will be winnings and losings. But mind will always fail. To stop the comings and the goings of experience. Mind will always fail to grant or achieve the abiding state of bliss and being. Mind will always fail to grace you with the truth of who you are. So when frustration dawns on you, welcome it, because it's telling you that you have given yourself over to chasing a mirage in the hopes that it will bring you lasting fulfillment. You've been duped. You're mistaken. And your frustration is your friend alerting you to the fact that you've lost your sobriety. And you're making some flow of phenomenon more important than your own being. In a satsang several weeks ago, I said, when someone is very impassioned about something, very urgent, very insistent, very vehement, it's usually a sign that they've forgotten why they do it. So, for example, someone with a tendency to worry. You'll often find them worrying about how much they worry. And then you'll find them worrying about how much they can't stop worrying about worrying. And the root of worry that's somehow misplaced. Seems like there's a couple more things I was going to say, but maybe they'll come up later. Oh, I remember what I was going to add to this. If you could see into factories, business establishments, places where people work, and if you could see in, and you could see that there are few people who linger there at night long after their working hours are over. There are a lot of reasons that someone could stay past their designated work time. I'm suggesting to you someone who spends most of their evenings at work. Does it occur to you what might be the cause of that? I say it's because they don't know how to go home. They have some trepidation, some fear, anxiety about going home. Or they feel that their position in their work is so fragile, so conditional, that if they don't give it their every waking moment, they'll lose it. And the human condition is a lot like that. The human identity has a lot of fear and trepidation and anxiety about going home. What exactly is that like? What would that be? What would that mean? A sense of having lost home leads to overwork. And Satsang tells you, you have not lost your home. You have not lost your home. Cannot lose your home. You are not what you think you are. You are already home. That's pretty good news. Papaji used to say, you think you're this, you think you're that. You have no evidence. You don't know who you were before you were born. You don't know what you'll be after. You have no evidence. You don't know anything. And yet you believe all of this story of your life. And then he would say, I say, why not believe you are Sat Chidananda? Why not believe that you are the three tonalities of the totality of consciousness? Why not believe that? As long as you're so eager to latch on to some unfounded belief, why not believe you're Sat Chidananda? I don't know about you, but I find it very hard to argue with that. So next time you find yourself frustrated, when it starts to bite and hurt, just pause and ask yourself, why don't I believe I'm Satchidananda? See if you can see anything other than the momentum of memory. Momentum that began somehow when one of your parents said, you're my little girl, you're my little boy. See if you see anything that really proves up who you think you are. You know, this movie, The Matrix, that most people have seen, it's such a useful illustration of what the Hindu tradition has always said. Liberation spiritual traditions from all over the world have always said, if your life were a dream from which you did not know how to wake up, how would you know? How would you know you're living in a dream world?
How would you?
Yeah, how would you?
Yeah. If somebody tells you?
Oh, that's not enough. Somebody telling you that every speck of data, of experience that your mind and your senses had collected throughout a lifetime was a dream. You'd walk away from that immediately and write that person off as a lunatic. Unless what?
Unless you already know it.
Yeah. I can almost quote verbatim what they said to illustrate this in the Matrix movie. Can I offer it to you? Neo's teacher says to him, before they pull him out of the dream, he says to him, what has brought you to me? I can tell you. What it is, you can't say. But you know there's something wrong with the world. And it's like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. That's what has brought you to me. So there has to be some splinter of nescience, is that the right word? That's whispering, intimating. Why is this so much struggle? Why is the world like this? This does not seem right to me. There's a glitch in my acceptance of what I see. Something in me is unwilling to accept fully that the way things appear to be is the whole story.
Probably how someone with amnesia feels.
I guess John Sherman made a great deal out of a movie. John Sherman in his Satsangs made a great deal out of a movie where the main character was experiencing amnesia. And I don't know what John said about this, but what I say about it is the only difference between you or any person and someone with amnesia, the only difference is the sense of a realness of accumulated history. Someone with amnesia is free of personal history. And they can either just stay as awareness looking out through the senses of a body, or they can start rebuilding a story of who they are. I eat this food, I dress with these clothes, these are my friends, this is where I live, this is where I go, this is what I do. My understanding is that people with amnesia don't feel very happy about it, because they find themselves in a human collective where everybody has this carefully welded architecture of this is who I am, this is what I do, these are my friends, this is where I live. And they're left out of that. I guess most people with amnesia, they don't celebrate it. They feel very anxious about not carrying any personal baggage. And they start accumulating it as quickly as possible. But the point is, both the person with amnesia and any other person have the burning question. Who am I? What am I? What is this life that I see? And a personal history just dulls. It's just like layering dead leaves over a light of inquiry. Someone with amnesia is caught in that light. They're not shielded from it. They're stripped down to nothing. They're left with the burning question. Why am I here? What am I? Who am I? Why is this happening? What is this life? And the gnani is someone who has dived into that light of inquiry. And then there's no longer any need to carry baggage. No longer any need to do anything, show anything, believe anything, achieve anything. That's the Buddha's invitation. That feels pretty substantive, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You can almost touch it.
Mm.
So, and many people in this era have been touched in positive and negative ways with chemical substances that can stop the leaf piling that covers this light of inquiry. And many people have found themselves from ayahuasca or LSD or ecstasy, found themselves in a place of just being and found it to be substantive and real. But then as the chemistry that suspends momentum of mind leaves the system, and a person, in spite of themselves, Ram Dass used to talk about this a lot. He would say, "You're so clear, everything is so clear, and you feel like you'll never go back." And then the chemical wears off. And I remember his words were, no, I won't go. But then you go anyway. And what Satsang tells everyone, this is available simply in a mystery of choosing.